Okay, so I want to talk about supply chain a little bit and why we're very sticky on it. So just kind of as a backstory, by value or by value, 95% of the raw material content that we use to make all of our product at Evolution Wheel is U.S. origin. It's made in USA, and it is the best quality that we can find for that raw material. There's the 5% that isn't, is mainly natural rubber, and that you can't get anywhere but Asia Pacific, because that's where the rubber tree farms are. So that 5% is not USA content, but everything else is. And for example, carbon black. We get carbon black from the US, and that's not something that we want to get from somewhere else, for example, China. Well, first of all, quality and what you're getting is a challenge. Secondly, carbon black from China has a history of having carcinogens in it, and that's not something that I want my people breathing at my factory. Steel is something that North America has a very good reputation for producing and making good quality steel. And over the years, we've seen things, from Chinese steel dumping steel into North American market, and quality is, again, a challenge and an issue. But when it comes to, our supply chain and being able to get locally sourced product, it also means that we can support the local economy and the economy of our countries. And it's it just means a lot to me to be able to tell our customer from Texas, from Nebraska, from Oregon, from wherever, that not only do we make our own product, but 95% of that product and the ingredients that we use is made here. It's made in USA. And that's something that a lot of companies don't care about, because when you manufacture a product, it becomes made in whatever country the final process was done, right? So you can put in things from different countries and regions and raw materials and stuff like that, because nobody knows. But you got to be able to sleep at night, and if you want to be trying to make your product the cheapest possible, lowest cost possible, then okay, go ahead. But if you're trying to chase quality and you're trying to chase doing something that is different, and above and beyond, and I say different, but it's not different, it's old. If you look at the 1950s and you look at the 60s, even 70s, everything was made local. Everything was made in the USA, everything was made in Canada, everything was made here, like North America. There was no made in China. Didn't happen. You had a blender or a toaster or a stove that was built like a brick shithouse and never failed because of the quality, right? You look at a truck, I've got a 1949 Chevy pickup that I'm working on, and the metal on that truck cab is like 10 times thicker than on one you would get today. Like, you can beat that thing with a hammer, back to place to do your body work. And like, comparatively to a truck from the 80s or afterwards, the one I'm driving right now, like, it's like paper. The metal is paper today versus on a truck body versus what it was then, so what I mean by old and going back to the way things used to be is, for us at Evolution Wheel, it's building a product that was supported local, and we can then tweak that quality. We can build it without cutting corners. We can, do all those things. And so that's sort of the mantra, the mentality that I've got as a vision for the company, and I try and instill that in my people. But that goes from supply chain all the way to, how we build our product. And the challenge that we're going to have if we want to build more things here in North America is that we don't really have the capacity for everything and technology and things like that. For example, like bolts, fasteners. The majority of the bolts and fastener hardware, like nuts, bolts, washers, that kind of stuff, the majority of that stuff is built in a select few factories in China. We've had, whether it be COVID or tariffs or whatever going on that caused supply chain disruptions, bolts is one of the ones that gets hit because a lot of them are not made here in North America. And just something that's, an everyday thing you would think would be around and on the shelf. And so if we want to do more manufacturing, and there are companies out there that want to do more made in USA, made in North America manufacturing, then you're going to have there's going to need to be infrastructure that gets built up and put in place to replace some of those things. We've been fortunate to be able to find most of it or all of it, but still comes with some hiccups, some challenges. But yeah, I think we need to work on that and build up some of those things so that we can have more stability. If you look at so I kind of like history of war, and particularly World War II. If you look at World War II, what won World War II wasn't like, there's all kinds of stories, but on a broad spectrum, what won was the supply chain and the ability of North America to produce, planes, tanks, ammunition, weapons, all that kind of stuff, and grow crops and bring food to the troops, all these things. North America really was the manufacturing powerhouse, the supply chain powerhouse in that conflict. And the ability of North America to supply troops to the Allied forces outpaced the ability of Germany and their forces to supply their troops and keep their troops going. And when the war ended and things kind of started to implode for Germany, that's a lot of what was observed and found, was that you know, troops were not fed properly, not supplied properly, abandoned vehicles because they didn't have fuel for them, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, there's a lot of different reasons for winning and losing that war, but on a macro level for supply chain, it was really important that, you know, North America and the Allied forces could out-supply their adversaries. And so, you know, that's 80 years ago, 85 years ago. If something like that happened today, what would happen? You know, everything is made, all these raw materials are made overseas. A lot of our manufacturing equipment is made overseas. Now, a lot of manufacturing equipment you can get from Europe, but a lot of this supply chain for raw materials has been moved offshore. So if we ever got in a situation like that again, then there would have to be massive investment in building up all those things, and that just doesn't happen overnight, especially not today. Yeah, something to think about. But as far as we go, we can control what we do. I can't change the world, but I can control what we do at Evolution Whale, and that's focusing on U.S. and North American-based supply chains. So it's my 2 cents for the day. Stay tuned for more.